Hi, and welcome to another episode of Punk Rock Politics with John Smith. We're going to discuss an important issue about sanctions on Iran and read through a Common Dreams article. So, the title of this article is As Sanders, and we're going to discuss. Please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Double click the button for the little bells, the little parentheses around the bell to make sure you get updates about my new videos and new content. And go to go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics and become a patron today and support Punk Rock Politics. The lowest tier starts at just $1 and you get all kinds of perks, exclusive access, early content, and all kinds of stuff. I'm working to make this a full-time gig where I release stuff every day, but I have other concerns, money concerns, family concerns, and they take up some time. But essentially, I need supporters so I can keep this channel rolling and put out much more content. That's the plan. So please support Punk Rock Politics. I'm already putting out a lot of content, and I need some assistance to put out more and more. As Sanders demands end to Iran sanctions to save lives amid coronavirus pandemic, Biden says he needs more information. Iran is facing a catastrophic toll from the coronavirus pandemic, said Sanders. U.S. sanctions should not be contributing to this humanitarian disaster, by Jake Johnson, staff writer of Common Dreams, on Monday, March 30th, 2020. After Senator Bernie Sanders and other progressive lawmakers last week called on the Trump administration to end its economic warfare against Iran amid the coronavirus pandemic, 2020 Democratic presidential frontrunner Joe Biden on Sunday refused to commit to even temporary lifting U.S. sanctions on Iran that are severely restricting the country's access to essential medical supplies. There is no logic to these sanctions. They're cruel and unusual punishment. Full stop. Sina Tassi, National Iranian American Council. I do not have enough information about the situation in Iran right now, said Biden, the former vice president under the Obama administration, which negotiated the Iran nuclear accord that President Donald Trump scrapped in 2018. There's a lot of speculation from my foreign policy team that they're in real trouble and they're lying, said Biden, but I would need more information to make that judgment. I don't have the national security information available. The dire situation in Iran has been international news for weeks, and the public outcry over U.S. sanctions has been coming from human rights groups as well as Biden's fellow Democrats. Biden's remarks on Sunday came a week after more than a dozen members of Congress, including Sanders, Biden's remaining 2020 Democratic presidential rival, sent letters to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin demanding that the White House immediately lift sanctions on Iran as the nation attempts to combat one of the largest coronavirus outbreaks in the world. Rather than continue to pile on sanctions in the Iranian people's hour of need, we urge you to substantially suspend sanctions on Iran in a humanitarian gesture to the Iranian people to better enable them to fight the virus, reads a letter signed by Sanders, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat of Minnesota, and 6 other members of Congress. The letter was sent days after Pompeo announced that the Trump administration is imposing more sanctions on Iran in an effort to deprive the regime of critical income from its petrochemical industry and further Iran's economic and diplomatic isolation. This is a tweet from Senator Sanders in the article. Iran is facing a catastrophic toll from the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. sanctions should not be contributing to this humanitarian disaster. As a caring nation, we must lift any sanctions hurting Iran's ability to address this crisis, including financial sanctions. The U.S. reimposed sweeping sanctions on Iran in 2018 after Trump violated the Iran nuclear deal, effectively killing a signature foreign policy achievement of the Obama administration. On the campaign trail, Biden has condemned Trump's decision to withdraw from the agreement and vowed to return to the negotiating table with Iran if elected president. The Washington Post reported Sunday that U.S. sanctions against Iran, where the coronavirus has officially infected more than 41,000 people and killed nearly 2,800, have limited Tehran's ability to finance and purchase essential items from abroad, including drugs as well as the raw materials and equipment needed to manufacture medicines domestically. There is no logic to these sanctions, tweeted Sina Tusi, senior research analyst with the National Iranian American Council. They're cruel and unusual punishment, full stop. An anonymous employee of a major Iranian pharmaceutical company told the Post that the sanctions have definitely made the import and production processes longer and more expensive. Some suppliers are afraid and not willing to work with us anymore, the person said. The sanctions have reduced Iran's capacity to control the outbreak. Now, this is horrible, and this is a really important story because it highlights what U.S. sanctions around the world do. Now, the mainstream media, or corporate media, whatever you want to call them, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, Fox, they all act like sanctions are good. But most sanctions, if not all sanctions, the vast majority of sanctions are claimed to cause a problem in tyrannical or authoritarian regimes. But the real problem is who they really hurt are the vast majority of the people in that nation, whether it be Venezuela or Iran, and many other nations that we have sanctions on. The problem is they hurt the middle and lower class. We screw up the economy of those nations, and then what we do is we just keep increasing sanctions, and we stop them from getting medicines, basic food supplies. We stop buying, if like Venezuela was heavily reliant on oil, we stop buying, the U.S. was buying 40% of Venezuelan oil, and we stopped buying it. What do you think that does to their economy? It massacres it, and that really has an impact on increasing the poverty level. This is often done to justify, ironically, overthrowing or having a coup in these nations where the U.S. gains control of these nations and instills a favorable, whether it be a democratically elected leader or a dictator or somebody that will give the U.S. what they want, meaning cheap oil, cheap services and goods, etc. So sanctions are awful, and this is really important, and you should call your senators, your congressmen or women, call the White House and demand that people facing the coronavirus outbreak, that the sanctions be lifted on these nations so that these people get the supplies and medicine they need and needless death doesn't happen. Thanks for joining Punk Rock Politics. Again, please go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics and become a patron. Membership starts for as little as $1 a month, people. I really need the help. I'd really appreciate it. I could really use your support so I can help grow this channel, put out more content, and make this a full-time job, make it a gig, so I don't have to do all these other things. And I would really appreciate the support, and I will be here for you to guide you through all these important news stories that the mainstream media isn't covering. Below, in the description, I'm going to have the link for the Common Dreams article. And in fact, you know what? While I got you here, if you're still here, you know what? We'll do a separate video about that. Well, thanks for joining Punk Rock Politics. Stay safe, practice social distancing, staying inside if you can, help anybody in any way you can while still being safe. Unite with your neighbors and help people out. Thanks for joining. Talk to you soon.